Undertone Review. A24's latest horror movie is one of the scariest films you will ever hear. Undertone follows Evie, Nina Kiri, who has moved back home to take care of her dying mother, Michelle Duque. At night, Evie hosts a paranormal podcast with Justin, Chris Holden-Ried, where Justin is a believer of the strange things they discuss, while Evie is more of a skeptic. Justin receives an email of 10 audio recordings that chronicle a couple, Mike and Abby, Jeff Young and Sarah Bowden, who are going through their own paranormal experience. As they work their way through these clips, over several podcast episodes, strange things start to happen in Evie's home that she can't explain. Right away with Undertone, you can tell you're in good hands by how carefully director A24's constructs each shot and crafts this story both visually and audibly. Evie records her podcast at 3 a.m., so the house is expectedly full of shadows and emptiness, and A24's makes great use of how he frames each moment. For example, a shot might be split into two parts, the right side showing Evie in one room, lit by her computer screen, the left side showing a vacant, dark room. Yet, even though the action is happening on the right side of the screen, we're inherently drawn to what we're not seeing on the left-hand side. Undertone is great at misdirection, drawing your attention one way while shocking you from the other, or just making you afraid that something is there when there actually isn't anything. Despite Undertone taking place entirely in one house, occupied by one woman and her bedridden mother, A24 makes this story claustrophobic in the way he frames these shots. He'll usually put the camera tight on Evie, to the point that you don't want to see what's going on around her. The slow way he turns the camera, or the rooms that he keeps on the edges of the frame, are all terrifying ways to heighten the fear of this one location. Even though there are a bunch of creepy things happening on camera, Undertone always puts you on the edge of your seat because of what you were not seeing that could be right around the dark corner. But Undertone's true power comes in its absolutely incredible sound design. A24's, who also wrote the screenplay, tells this story through Evie's eyes and ears in a way that locks us completely in and makes this utterly captivating. Just the ticking of a clock or the creaking on the stairs is powerful, but once Evie puts on her noise-canceling headphones, the silence is also deafening. It also allows us to narrow in on the audio clips Justin is playing, and like Evie, we try to figure out the mystery of what the hell is actually going on. Undertone plays incredibly well in a theater, where you can hardly tell if the sounds are coming from the audience or from the film itself, especially when things start to get nuts. But it's hard to imagine just how distressing Undertone would be when watched alone with headphones on. In recent years, the Academy Awards have proven that they were more willing to award horror than ever, and with that in mind, Undertone should without a doubt be in the conversation for the Best Sound Award at the 2027 Oscars. Undertone also lives or dies by the performance of Nina Kiri as Evie, because, with the exception of her mother lying in bed, she's the only character we see throughout the film. Again, since we see this story through her eyes, Kiri truly makes us feel every unusual sound and unexpected change that happens throughout the movie. It's a commanding performance that never relies on trying to explain to the audience and herself what's going on, but we can understand it all simply from the way she responds in the moment. We are right there with Evie as everything starts to lose it, and she makes us feel the helplessness, fear, and uncertainty of what's going on throughout the film. Undertone has a handful of performances that don't seem as integral, yet have an immense amount of power within this story. Michelle Duque, as Evie's mother, not only speaks to the pain of watching someone you love start to drift away and the difficulties it causes for those who have to take care of them, but it's also a haunting performance that relies mostly on lying in bed and maybe a small, unexpected movement. It might not seem like it's a performance that could be much, but Duque's role leaves a major impact. The film is directed by Ryan Coogler. Speaking of which, it's impressive how important most of these performances are, considering they are entirely oral. Chris Holden-Ried's Justin is a perfect counterbalance to Evie, and their playful banter shows years of friendship and trust, while also providing context and narrative clues without going overboard. This story heavily relies on the back-and-forth conversations about these audio clips, and without that working, we were left in the dark. Thankfully, it works beautifully. The same is true of these 10 clips, performed by Jeff Young and Sarah Bowden, as we have to imagine what's going on as we hear these clips over and over and over, and backwards. Again, like Justin and Evie, we don't know the story, we only know what our mind creates for us from these clips, and Young and Bowden truly sell their narrative solely through their voices. Undertone is necessarily breaking the mold in terms of horror films, but through A24's direction, he shows just how brilliantly he can heighten this kind of ghost-haunting, demonic, whatever the hell is happening type of story in ways that still make them nightmarish. With Undertone, A24's has created